Hey everybody, Glenn here with Deviation Sports Cards, bringing you a grade reveal video for CSG. This one's going to be a little lengthy, so I'm just going to jump into it, because actually I have 3 different orders here, and it was quite the experience. So I was just going to start breaking it down. So first of all, here we got a 2-card express order, and then 2 5-card standard orders, all vintage, all that I sent in roughly pretty close to one another. So I'll get the TRT times up on here. So basically you can see here I sent in, let's see here, this stack on the left right here, this stack I sent in on 5/24. You can see it kind of back there. It went through a interesting little journey. This was, I guess, kind of the most normal of the batch. It ended up only coming back to me once, and that was 5 days early, so that was nice. This middle batch, I'm sorry, let's do this. So this middle batch and this far right batch I sent in at the same time. Now, the weird thing about this is this express was obviously a 15-day. I sent them in. You can see here by looking at the sides of these, they're both normal standard cards. Now, one's a larger vintage and one's a smaller vintage, but both within the sizes they said they could grade, no thicker stock. So what happened here was I sent these in on a 15-day. This one does look like it might be a hair. No, it's not. And I got an email saying that one of these cards could be graded and the other one needed a thick holder. Well, that seemed kind of strange to me because obviously neither of them are thick cards. So when I reached out to customer service, the guy told me actually that the undersized card was the card that needed a thicker holder, which made absolutely 0 sense to me. So I went back and forth with this guy a couple times. He kept saying, well, we don't want to damage your card by not putting in a thicker holder, blah, blah, blah. I kept trying to explain to him that it was not a thick card and it was not an oversized card. He didn't seem to get it. So we went back and forth, back and forth. Finally, he told me that, I needed to contact accounting because there's a problem. Well, I had already contacted accounting. I paid for all my orders because I hate having this cost looming over my head for whenever they get around to grading these, and I'm just going to get a random charge to my account. So I had already paid for everything. So he says, fine, I'll tell everybody to release it and we'll get them shipped out to you. And at that point, the email had already coming out saying that they had gotten their thicker holders in. And essentially what it boiled down to was there was a note in that release saying that some vintage cards that are undersized get put in a plastic sleeve. And that plastic sleeve requires a slightly thicker case than the normal ones. So I was like, okay, well, finally I have an explanation for why my undersized card requires a thicker holder. But at any rate, I just wanted my cards back at that point. You can see I paid for a 15-day turnaround. It took 35 days. So not happy with that at all, especially when there was no mention on their website. That's the one big beef I have with CSG is they can't seem to keep holders in. I mean, it says on there that they can grade cards up to 3.75 inches by 2.75 inches. Normal thickness cards, so it's not like I sent in a 180 point patch autograph and then am bitching because they didn't have the right case. So anyways, they just can't seem to get the right cases in. And then they don't have anything on the website saying, hey, we don't have cases for these, and we're not going to have them until this point in time. Obviously, had I known that my undersized card was going to need a thicker case, which I don't think anybody in their right mind would think, I wouldn't have sent it in on an express order just so I could, get it in, standard timing. So anyways, that was the first beef. So he says, okay, I'll get those 2 done and out to you now that we have the thicker holders. I said, great. So I get a package in the mail, and instead of getting this order, I actually get this order, which was the last order I actually submitted. I submitted it on the same day as the Express, but obviously I did it under a standard service, which at that time was 47 days. And when I got them back, only one card was encased. The other 4 cards had grading on them, but were not encased, and they charged me for all of them. So I had to reach back out to customer service again. Thank God I got into contact with this lady named Lorraine Chung, who was a godsend. So she got everything straightened out. I ended up sending this order back in, with the exception of the one that they had already encapsulated, so they could be encapsulated. She got me these cards encapsulated and shipped like the previous guy had told me he would do. So I ended up getting these cards back in the mail a few days later. These cards I had to send back in, and then these cards actually started to get graded and shipped shortly after that. So all in, I was planning on doing 3 different videos because I planned on getting all of this back in a lot different way. But at the end of the day, it was a huge runaround. You know, people complain about, you know, some of the other new grading companies. The customer service, once I got a hold of the Lorraine lady, was fantastic. Prior to that, it was absolutely awful. The guy really didn't seem intent on trying to help. He was just, you know, clearly giving me answers that, you know, would get me off the phone or, you know, out of the email chain with him, and it was super annoying. So anyways, all that said and done, let's get into the cards, because that's the important thing here. So we'll start off with the first order I sent in. Actually, you know what? We'll start off with this one. So this was the last order that I sent in. You can see I sent in 5 cards. They only sent back 4 encapsulated. Even the second time. Originally they encapsulated this first card here, these 3 and this one in the plastic holder were not encapsulated. I sent them back. They ended up encapsulating these 3, but still not this one. So when they don't encapsulate one, I will say at least they give you this little sticker on the back, at least the second time. And it says, slightly too tall for our vintage holder. So this was a 1952 Bowman large Dub Jones. I did measure it when I got it back, and it is slightly over 3.75 inches. So I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get it encapsulated. I believe it graded out as a 7, because the first time they sent it back, it actually had a grade on it. But anyways, that is what it is. I guess I'd rather them not damage my card. So then the rest of this was the last order I sent in. So this was some of the cards I knew weren't going to get fantastic grades. I'd already sent in the ones, but I was just testing these guys out. So the first card was actually this Marion Motley rookie card. So I had bought Marion Motley's set from an auction here locally. And this was this 1951, I believe it is. No, 1950 rookie card was in there. It also had a 52 and a 53, I believe. 51 and a 53, I think. I don't think there was a 52. The 53 was in really rough shape. This one was in pretty rough shape as well. But, you know, it's his rookie card. It's a 70-year-old card, so I wanted to get it encapsulated. And then the other one was actually in extremely good shape, which is the undersized card I sent in with the express order. So anyways, without further ado, this is the Marion Motley card. Trying to get the reflection off there. Actually, let me see if I can trim that down a little bit more. That helped a little bit. Okay, so this is the Marion Motley rookie card. You can see I did get subgrades on it. A lot of people don't like to get subgrades on vintage cards. I personally do, because I want to know why it got the grade it got. I actually am not a huge fan at all of no subgrades. Let's see if I can get that to zoom or get that to focus a little bit better here. That's just hard because of the reflection off the case here. So the corners were pretty beat up, so you can see that corners got a 3.5, surface got a 2.5, edges got a 4.5, and centering got a 9. Let's see if I take that out of the case, if it'll actually not look that bad. Already put these in holders. No, that didn't really help a whole lot either. So overall, I wasn't expecting it to get a great grade. Like I said, it's a 70-year-old card, 1950, so I'm fairly happy with the 3. I wasn't expecting anything spectacular. So yeah, overall, happy with the grade here. Let me see if I can. There, well, that helped a little bit. There we go. I'm used to doing videos at night, so trying to get the lighting right during the day is a little tricky for me. You can definitely see the reflection off my shirt. Okay, so that's the first card. So then the second card I sent in, and actually I think in another video someone was asking me, you know, what sleeves I use for my cards. I use special sleeves from Superior Fit Innovations. So this is actually the company here. You can buy sleeves basically that are custom. So this one is for CSG graded. I love these ones actually. They're fit really nicely. They're probably the best ones I've got as far as how well they fit the card in its final state. So anyways, second card here was a Lou Groza, 1954 Lou Groza. You see it got a 6, excellent near mint. Centering got a 7.5, corners a 7, edges and surface a 6. So you can kind of, I wanted to kind of see on the centering, because a lot of people were, you know, moaning and complaining about, oh, CSG is the next BG or BCCG or BVG. They're, you know, basically a point higher than they would be with, you know, PSA or BGS. So I kind of wanted to get a feel for how they were grading stuff. You can see obviously top to bottom centering is pretty bad on this card, and it ended up getting a 7.5 on this. You know, this would probably be a PSA 9 on an ultra modern card. But anyways, so it ended up getting a 6. So I was pretty happy with that. I mean, I knew the surface would get dinged. It's got some marks here on the back. But overall, happy with that. Again, a 1954 card, so hard to beat. Hard to get really good grades on these cards. Okay, so third card was an autogram, 1954 Bowman autogram. You can see this one I actually graded a little bit higher than I expected. It got a 6 as well, with corners doing the most damage at a 5.5. Centering got a 7.5. You can see it's off pretty much equally to that Groza top to bottom. Back, harder to tell, but looks pretty good. Surface and edges, you know, so overall I was pretty happy with the grade this got. I wasn't expecting it to get that good of a grade, so pretty happy there. And then the last one was a 1954 Dante Lavelli. I'm trying to find that sweet spot here where you can actually see the card well. This was in really good shape. You can see the centering here got an 8, so it's a little bit off center. It only got a half grade, better than those other 2 cards. But the corners, surface, and edges were in a lot better shape. So this got a near mint 8.5, which I was extremely happy with. So yeah, so that was the last order that I sent in. So I was really happy with that. Like I said, I wasn't expecting anything spectacular out of that. So then we'll go to this one next. So this was, so I've been trying to get this autogram graded multiple times, and you can see here that it came back not graded with evidence of alteration or restoration or evidence of trimming, which I was kind of worried about. So I had bought this from any of you new collectors out there. There's an old company called Gem Grading, and I had bought this out of there, and they were pretty notorious for grading altered cards. So I didn't spend an arm and a leg on it because I kind of knew about it, but I wanted to see just how bad it was. So I bought it, cracked it, sent it in to see what would happen, and sure enough, it got altered. So it is an authentic card, but apparently it's been altered in some way, whether it was trimmed or restored. I'm not sure which one. They didn't specify. So I guess, you know, that is what it is. I mean, I can't fault them for not grading it if they found evidence of tampering. And I knew there was a risk of that when I sent it in because of, you know, where it had originated from. So that's that. A little disappointing, but like I said, I wasn't totally caught off guard by it. Okay, so this next one is a Marion Motley 1951 Bowman. This is not the one I got in that set with the other one. This is a different card that I had gotten previously. God, I wish I could get that lighting better. So it ended up getting a 6 as well. You can see the centering on this one got an 8.5, corners got a 5, edges got an 8, and surface got an 8.5. So corners is really what killed this card. Other than that, it was really good. But it got a 6. Like I said, I wasn't expecting the world from it because I knew the corners were pretty shot. But, you know, I'm a big Browns fan. You can kind of see the plastic sleeve that they've got in there. These things do move around in here. I know a lot of people, you know, complain about cards moving around from other graders. It does move around in here quite a bit. So, you know, that must be a, you know, problem with all of them. Even in that sleeve, it still moves around a little bit. So, anyways, I was happy with that. Next card here was a 1955 Lou Groza. You can see this one I sent in very specifically to try to get a feel for how much centering was going to have an impact, because I sent in 2 of them. So, give me 1 second. This lighting is absolutely driving me crazy. Let's see if I can. Let's see how that does. That's a little bit better. Okay, so you can see this one got an 8.5 and this one got a 6.5. Centering on this got a 9. Centering on this one got a 5.5. Corners 8.5, corners 8, edges 8, edges 9, surface 8.5, surface 8.5. So basically you can see here the only real difference between these 2 cards is the centering. I mean, you can see this card is off to the left and to the top. This card is almost perfectly centered. So this is what I like about subgrades. If I just sent these 2 cards in and got them back with a 2 grade difference, you know, I'd be wondering, okay, I mean, obviously this is centering's worse, but why such a huge difference? Well, you can see there that this is a difference very specifically on a vintage card between a 9 centering and a 5.5 centering. And you can see that even though the rest of the card is in really good condition, that centering was so bad that it took it to a 5.5, because it can only go 1 grade higher than your lowest grade. So I'm pretty happy with this. Like I said, even to me, and this is what I like about subgrades on vintage cards, opposed to what other people say, you know, with the exception of centering, this is an extremely nice card. I mean, it probably ends up getting the same grade as this one if it's just centered. So it doesn't mean that this card is, you know, a terrible condition card just because it's a 5.5 or 6.5. It just means that it's off center a little bit. But other than that, it's in really good condition. You know, this same card, and this is what I don't like about not having subgrades, is it could have been a 5.5, 6.5, 6.5, 6.5 and still got a 6.5. Well, this card's clearly better than that card, but you would never know that if you didn't have the subgrades. So, anyways, both those Lou Grozas, pretty happy with that. Got a good idea now of what to expect sending in the CSG and how much centering will affect the grade. And then this last card is a 1961 new card, Ernie Davis, which got an 8.5 on centering, 9.5 on corners, 9 on edges, and 8.5. Anybody that knows anything about the Browns knows that Ernie Davis was actually a running back for Syracuse that never actually got to play a game for the Browns. He was drafted by the Redskins, got traded to the Browns, ended up getting sick, ended up being some kind of cancer, I believe, ended up never playing a game for the Browns, ended up dying, I believe, at the age of 23. He's actually one of 5 people, I think, that have a retired number for the Cleveland Browns. And there's actually a movie out there called The Express. I believe it's got Dennis Quaid in it. It's a story about this guy. But there's only 2 cards that I'm aware of his. The one that has him in his Browns uniform is obviously the more expensive of the 2. This one being the less expensive of the 2, but I saw it and it was in such great shape. Being a Browns fan, I wanted to get it. You know, as you can see, centering here, top to bottom, is off. You can visually see it, so that's probably the only thing that kept this thing from getting a 9.5. I'm sorry, a 9. I could have probably got a 9 if I could have got that centering up to a 9, because I believe if you have 2 grades that are the same, they won't grade it higher than that, regardless of what. So these could have both been 10s. If these were both 8.5s, it'd still get an 8.5. If this had been a 9 or a 9.5, then I probably could have squeaked out a 9. But overall, I'm happy with that. I knew this was a good condition card. Yeah, you can see the centering on the back there as well. I mean, obviously, top to bottom, off. But anyways, very, very happy with this grade. And then for the last 2 cards, these are the ones I sent in on an express order. This one, just because I had it at the time, I had already sent the other ones in or was getting them packaged up in. And then the other one was one that I had gotten at auction that I thought was going to grade out really nicely. So this one is a 1952 Bowman Large Paul Brown. You see that it ended up grading out a near mint 7. With that 8 on centering, 8 on edges, 6.5 on corners, and 7 on surface. So I've been trying to build a collection of all the Browns Hall of Famers. This is one of only a few actual Paul Brown cards that were made back then. So I got it and I wanted to get it graded, and I'm satisfied with the 7. I think that's a good grade. Anything a 7 or higher in my book from 1950s is pretty damn good. But you can see, like how I tapped that and the thing moves. So, anyways, happy with that. Happy with the 7. And then the last card is another copy of this Marion Motley. Like I said, I got this in that auction that I bought here locally. I was shocked when I got it and saw how good a condition this card was in, and it graded out appropriately. So you can see here that it got a 9 on centering, a 8 on corners, 8.5 on edges, and a 9 on surface for an 8.5 overall. If I go ahead and pull out the other one, see the difference between a 8.5 and a 6. Really, the only major difference with this one to this one was corners. So there again is kind of a good example of how one category can just kill the grade. Just like that Lou Groza. I mean, you got half a point less on centering here, half a point left on edges, basically half a point less in every category except corners, which was 3 points less. And that's the difference between this being a 6 and this being an 8.5. So again, that's part of the reason why I like the subgrades. Again, this card here could have got 6.5, 6.6, been a 6, and been graded equal to this card. Obviously, this is a better card. I wish it had been the other way around. You can kind of see that there's a little bit of blurriness in the picture of this one compared to this one, which I'm surprised they didn't hit me on harder. But anyways, super happy with this. This is what I was looking for. I was hoping for that 8, 8.5, 9 range, especially on a 1951 cards. I mean, guys, you get an 8.5 ultra modern card and you're like, oh god, 8.5, it's horrible. This card right here is 70 years old. 70 years old. So that's what I like about collecting vintage. I got these 2 cards. I got a pretty poor condition 1953 Marion Motley. I got about 8 or 9 other cards, a couple of which were signed with authentication. It was just a tremendous set of cards for Marion Motley. I think I bought it and won it at an auction for less than $300. And I've got a card here now that's 70 years old, grading out at an 8.5. And people are spending just thousands upon thousands of dollars on these ultra modern cards on non-established players, and there's so many of them. That's why I say we're in the junk slab era. This card right here, I actually looked at the pop reports for this particular card across the three major graders, being PSA, SGC, and BGS. This card is the fourth highest graded card of this version in existence. So for $300, I got the fourth highest graded card, 70 years old, plus his rookie card, plus a 1953 card, plus multiple autographs, plus multiple other things. And it's not like there's going to be a whole lot of these unearthed over the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years that are going to grade this high. The more that are out there, the more they're going to decline in condition. So the likelihood of this ever falling out of the top 10 best graded versions of this card is next to none. Whereas, on a, let's say, a Justin Herbert Prism rookie, it's just there's so damn many of them. Let's say this guy comes out, never gets to a Super Bowl. Even if he does get to a Super Bowl, there's going to be so stinking many high-grade cards. 30, 40 years from now, it's still not going to have any value. It's like, that's why I call it the junk slab era. It's, instead of having, a million copies of an Emmitt Smith rookie out there that some in good grade, some in not good grade, the benefit you have from the junk wax era is a lot of people didn't take care of them. So even though there was a shit ton of them, probably a pretty decent percentage of them are just not in good condition. Whereas with the new cards, everybody's breaking them and sending them right off the bat. Everything's grading out at a 9 or a 10, 9, 9, 5, 10, and they're just going to be everywhere. And the value is going to suffer because of it. That's my, my prediction. A lot of people won't agree with me. But to me, if you're grading Justin Herbert's today, you better be flipping it, because it's never going to be worth more than it is right now, unless the guy goes and wins a couple Super Bowls and everybody goes freaking crazy, and then it'll go nuts high again. And if you're buying during that nuts high time, you're foolish in my opinion, because it will never get to that point again. I mean, I see Justin Herbert cards selling for more than Tom Brady rookie cards, and to me that's just absolutely nuts. So anyways, so overall experience with CSG, it's been kind of an awkward ride with these guys. I mean, one of the order I spent the most on, the express order, was way stinking late. The other two were early, but then they sent the one back ungraded for whatever stinking reason. I had to get a hold of customer service, send the thing back in. It was a big hassle. These grading companies just really seem to struggle with just the basics, which is kind of sad, because these guys have a tremendous opportunity to just steal market share from PSA, and they better get it together before PSA decides to turn it back on, or they're going to have a hard time keeping that. But overall, once I finally got a hold of somebody at CSG that was willing to help, it went great, and they got everything taken care of really fast. When I wasn't getting someone that was really interested in helping, it was an absolute stinking disaster. So overall, I'm happy with the grades. I think they're fair. A lot of people knock on CSG because of the labels, including myself in the first video. I just tore these things apart. I will tell you, when you have this in your hands, it is not nearly as bad as you think it is. The cases themselves, I think, are by far the best cases in the industry. Just something I like about them. They're nice. They're crystal clear. The size isn't ridiculous. They're nice and thick. They got the rounded corners, thicker than PSA, not as thick as say like an HGA. Very good quality feel, as opposed to CSG that just feels cheap. Same with PSA, same with RCG. So it's like I always said, if I could take an HGA label and stick it in here, it would be the perfect case. And I don't know why I can't get that to focus now. So, like I said, sorry about the lighting during this video. Like I said, I don't usually shoot these during the day, so I'm having my lighting in this room is kind of set up for later in the day breaks. So I'm struggling to find a happy medium here during the day. But ultimately, as far as CSG is concerned, I don't think they're overgrading. They obviously still have some kinks to work out. My recommendation to them is post the information about when you're going to have cases, so people don't use your higher cost options only to find out that you're going to hold their cards for standard or economy length because you don't have the right damn cases, which to me is insane, but whatever. So overall, I got 12 cards here that I sent in. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 8.5s, which to me is excellent for vintage. I got 1 7, 1 6 5, 1 2 3 6s, and then this 3, which I knew wasn't going to grade well, and then I got 1 returned for evidence of alteration and 1 that was apparently too big for their holders. So overall, I'm happy. I'm not happy necessarily with how it went, but I'm happy with the result. So there you have it, guys. Hope to see you next time, and please subscribe to the channel if you like the content.